Well, it says it's working, but I have no idea if it's working because YouTube doesn't make it very easy to go live. They say it's easy, but it's not actually very easy. I'm just finishing my breakfast, so just give it a quick second to make sure everything's working. Um, and also let me know how the sound is because I don't have a great setup and I don't think the microphone on my webcam is great. We'll have to see. Oh, I'm hoping that wasn't a mistake. I just drank the rest of my breakfast really fast. And usually, if I drink too fast, especially with a straw, it makes me very burpy. I may not have been a good choice before going live. I don't make the best choices. Let's see here. So, how's the sound? Is it okay? It's probably like kind of echoey and weird, but oh, good. Hello, Jonathan. I tested this out before. I actually tried to go live on Tuesday. Who knew that YouTube doesn't let you do that right away? So, as soon as I got everything set up and I got home from work early to do it, it literally told me I had to wait 24 hours. Like, okay. So, I'm obviously very new at this, but hopefully this will work out pretty well. I have a couple of questions that I got, mostly from my Instagram that I was going to go over. But also, if there are any other questions or anything in particular, anything in particular anyone wants me to talk about, I am open to everything. I was just thinking, why not try going live on Saturday morning? See what happens, see who's around. So, um, I will start by saying that if you are new to my channel or if you haven't been here before, my name is Stephanie and I had gastric bypass on December 1st last year, 2020, and I have just been plugging away. And this has just been kind of my documented journey of what I've been going through. Um, and I wasn't really ever expecting to get to 500 subscribers. So I consider this like the halfway point to being like a legitimate channel. So apparently, YouTube only lets you stream from your phone if you have 1,000 subscribers. So consider this my official countdown to 1,000 subscribers because my setup at home is not great. I have a much better setup if I could use my phone. So this is a challenge I'm issuing to all of you simply to make things easier. If we could get going to 1,000 subscribers, then this would be a heck of a lot easier. So, no pressure or anything, but you could just share it with your friends. Anyway, I have a big old tumbler of I made some crystal light. It's supposed to be 90 degrees today. So stay hydrated for all of you out there just in general, but for me as well. I need to start on my hydration because when it is really hot, it is awful and it's really hard for me to stay on top of things a lot of times. Um so remind me. I'm gonna have to do this periodically. So I'm just going to start with the first question I got on Instagram um, because I thought it was such a fun question. I was asked, what are some of my non weight loss goals? And I had to actually think about it for a while because so much is wrapped up into like weight loss and like the number on the scale. And I'm assuming this question is kind of along the lines of like non scale victories. Like, obviously, I mean, I guess she could literally mean what are my non-weight loss goals like in life that have nothing to do with weight loss, which I hadn't even thought of. But I guess I could start with that. We bought a house gosh, 2019. So it's been like a year and a half now, and I'm just now getting situated in things. But also because I've lost weight, I have a lot more energy, so I feel like I'm ready to like tackle the house. So if this question really is like completely non-weight loss related, then my goal is to start gardening. We have a lot of like quite a bit of area, like almost an acre. But also whoever lived here before really liked to garden. And so there's like a lot of overgrown garden area around my house that I would love to get back into shape. It's like borderline, like ready to be beautiful, but it's just been overgrown since before we bought the place. And so, like, completely non weight loss related goals, I want to get like gardening. I want to learn how to trim the bushes that we have. I want to, just completely redo a whole bunch of stuff and just get it all situated. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. And you'd think with the summer, like I could do that now, but it is so hot. It's so hot. So I think I'm gonna have to do that like early fall. Um, so that's like non weight loss related goal. The way I took the question though was whether like what my non-scale victories are. So like still related to weight loss, but not like the number on the scale. And the more I thought about it, the more I think like traveling is a huge one for me. We have traveled a lot. My boyfriend and I made it a point shortly after getting together that we wanted to do traveling. We wanted to go on vacations a lot. He never really had the opportunity to go on vacations as a kid, and I just really felt like antsy to go places. So we were going like once a year before COVID hit, and I mean, we would always do things. I never let anything stop me, but boy, did my feet hurt a lot of our trips. And the last big trip we took was to London and Paris in the fall of 2019. So right before everything happened with COVID. And we had such a blast with that trip, but I was in so much pain every night from walking around. And my boyfriend's so sweet. He was like, well, we did an awful lot of walking. Like, I know we did, but I shouldn't have been in that much pain, and I shouldn't have had to feel like I had to find benches like periodically every time we were at a museum or an art gallery or something. I just it's like I don't know if um unless you've experienced it, you probably don't think about it much, but it's like something that's always on my mind. So we were at the Louvre. I got to finally go to the Louvre. I was so excited. We're wandering around, but like I'm battling inside with myself between enjoying what I'm seeing and looking at everything around me, and also the back of my mind that's like, find a bench, find a bench, find a bench. Like your feet hurt really bad. You can't stand much longer. Like you're gonna need to sit down for a second. And so it just sort of like takes me out of being able to enjoy things thoroughly. I didn't not enjoy myself, but I couldn't enjoy it thoroughly because my feet hurt so bad. And I remember most of our trips, at the end of the night, I'd like elevate my feet and lay on the bed and they'd just be throbbing. And I would do everything I could to get them in a good place before the next morning when we started out again. So so that's my big like non-scale goal is as I lose more weight, as I'm able to walk around, we're doing walking around every day. I've now done 10,000 steps every day for has it been a month now? I think tomorrow is 4 weeks. I've never done that before, and my feet are getting used to that kind of movement. My body can do those things now where it couldn't before. So, um, that has nothing to do with the number. That just has to do with how I'm feeling, and I am really excited to travel again whenever whenever we're able to do that. But I'm really excited to do that again and really try to I don't know, like we want to go to Greece. I've wanted to go to Greece for a long time and there's so many stairs. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. But now I can envision it. Do I envision a finish line to my bariatric journey? That's a tough question because I don't really have like an end goal, and I haven't for a long time, partially because uh to get to like what you would consider a quote unquote normal BMI for my height and everything would be I think about 200 pounds lost or something like that. And to me, that was so daunting. So I didn't want to have like a number finish line for sure, because I didn't want to get hung up on like, you have 150 more pounds to go or something like that. That to me is just, it takes all the fun out of the journey. Um, I am approaching a point in my journey now where I am beyond anything that I've been able to imagine for a really long time. I'm wearing most of my clothes are like XL, which I haven't worn anything lower than a 3X for like most of my life, at least most of my adult life. And so, in terms of like size of my clothes and the way that I feel and the way that I'm able to move and stuff, I'm kind of in this new realm where it's like, I didn't really envision myself here because I had such a hard time over so many years losing weight that now I don't really know what to do other than I keep moving forward, obviously, but it's hard for me to think of like an end goal. I've always wanted to just be comfortable and just be, like it's hard for me to imagine myself at like 135, 140 pounds. I don't think I've been that since like, I don't know, grade school, probably. That's terrible. Yeah. So I don't I don't know what that's like, and I don't know, like, what to expect for that, so I'm just kind of seeing. I guess for this first year is just, like, just get through the first, I guess 18 months, because that's what they really say, is, like, the first 18 months is the big part, like, the majority of your weight loss, the majority of what's gonna happen after surgery, and that goes for sleeve or bypass, is gonna happen in that first 18 months, and then after that, you really kinda have to work on it yourself and, keep up with your habits and stuff, and so at this point, my finish line is just like, let's just get through the first 18 months and see where I land, because I have a feeling that things are gonna have to adjust at that point, and I'm going to have to figure out, um, kind of a new way of doing things when everything sort of settles and I'm no longer in that, like, super weight loss, 18-month road. So I've been reflecting on how a finish line feels like a mental trap for me. Thinking that there's an expiration date to all the positive behavioral changes in my life feels like a mistake. I agree. Oh my gosh. Like, I think that's one reason why I don't like to think about that. I was saying, before, that I didn't want to think of a number because it seemed really daunting, and I don't want to set myself up for failure. And so yeah, to think of, like, when is this gonna be done, I think is setting yourself up for failure, just my personal opinion, because you've got this idea that, like, and there's so many people online, so many people on, like, the Facebook support group that I'm in that seem to have that, like, there's an end to this, and there's really not. This is about a lifestyle change. The surgery helps get you to that point. The reason I went for the surgery was so that I could lose a large amount of that weight initially. I know that it's going to take work. I've been in Weight Watchers for years, and like I was always planning on just staying in Weight Watchers even if I ever met my goal, because it takes consistent work and consistent practice. And if you have an idea of an end goal, then yeah, you're going to potentially get into this mindset of like, I'm done now. And then you run into issues where bad habits come back, or, because it never ends. Like, this is going to be something. I'm just one of those. I keep interrupting myself. I'm just one of those people that's going to struggle with my weight. That's what I am. Some of us just need extra help. Some of us, it doesn't happen easily for us. And so it's always going to have to be something that I'm working on. I'm just hoping that as I'm working on these better habits and everything, that I will get to the point where I don't have to work so hard at it. I do always have to keep it in mind, but hopefully I can set myself up where it's a little bit easier to do. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. But yeah, that's a really, really good point. I think it's important not to feel like there's this expiration and this end to everything. Even if you do, because I don't think it's wrong to have a weight loss goal. So even if you do have a goal weight, I would encourage people not to feel like that signals the end and you've made it and you're done now, because it's just not that simple. Um, so yeah. Any worries about regaining? I'm already thinking about it and I'm only 10 months post-op. Yeah, I mean, I don't worry about it a lot. It definitely crosses my mind. It definitely is one of those things, especially when you read about other people struggling with regain. Um, it's one of those things that, will come up and I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna regain." My personal thought is that, a lot of the people that I see struggling with regain don't learn how to eat healthy. Um, they don't learn moderation and how to, like I was saying, it's a lifestyle change, like, you have to be committed for life. So if you have this end goal, I think a lot of people regain because they kind of get lax because they reached their goal. It's not everybody, and I'm certainly not an expert. So, I'm not going to say who for sure gains and doesn't gain. There's a lot of reasons for it, but I do think that there's a lot of people that regain because they get lax because they're just like, oh well, I've done it now. I don't have to work as hard at it. And the other part of it is I really do think, there's so many people who are so strict on themselves in the first year after surgery, and so if you're at this point where you are still restricting and you're not allowing yourself to have very many carbs and you're, cutting your sugar drastically, and that's just, in my opinion, not sustainable for life. And when we're doing this, we have to do this for life. You have to maintain this. Um, and maintain your way of eating. And so if you can't find that healthy relationship with food, eventually things are going to go back to what they were before. You can stretch your stomach out. And even if you're not talking about stretching your stomach out, I have found personally that if I can eat all day if I want to. You can have little bites of things all the time and never get that like really stuffed feeling. And then you're just intaking things all day. And if you're doing that, plus it's, unhealthy food and things, like there are ways that you can regain without, like, oh, I stretched my stomach out. So it's being mindful. So I'm not personally worried right now about regain because I've been focusing so hard on having a healthy relationship with food. I don't restrict my food. I do aim towards certain things. I try to make sure that I am getting, enough protein and I'm balancing my food out. I don't restrict myself, but I'm not going to eat, just nothing but pasta all day. I'm going to make sure that I'm balancing things out. So far, I have the healthiest relationship I've ever had with food. And it's no longer like this weight on me of like food ruling my life, and that makes a huge difference and makes me feel like I can tackle things finally, where it was so oppressive before and food really truly ruled my life that I didn't feel like I could, like, think about the future and think about maintenance or keeping something going for a long period of time. Um, Early out, I was thinking about a finish line, but this will be a lifelong journey. No end, really. Always have to keep in check. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think that is. I remember I hit a point a few years ago when I was in Weight Watchers where I realized I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life. And do this. I didn't necessarily mean Weight Watchers just as much as like I'm going to have to be focusing on this for the rest of my life. There will never be a point where I reach lifetime with Weight Watchers. And then I'm like, I'm done now. This is great. And I never have to think about it because I struggled so much. And especially before surgery, my binge eating was out of control a lot of times. It would just come and go. And so, yeah, I reached a point where I realized I'm gonna have to do this forever, and you know what? That's okay. Um, and I think once you get to that mental space, it becomes a little easier. It's just what you have to do. Some people, we just have to focus, a little bit on these things, and we can't we can't just, eat what we want and have a great metabolism, or we can't, like, some people can't just, like, work out a lot and be able to. I know people, I'm sure we all know people who work out enough and with their metabolism and everything are able to eat whatever they want. And that's great, but I'm just never going to be able to do that. So I have to come to terms with the fact that I'm different. So, have you noticed any significant internal personality changes since the surgery? Um, I've always been grumpy. I have like a grumpy anger problem that runs through the family, and we've been aware of, and I've been working on for years. And I've always gotten hangry and stuff. I notice now that it comes on a lot faster. So I'll get hangry pretty easily now. Like if I go too long between, "Oh, I think I need to eat," and being able to actually eat, like, I might be kind of hard to be around. Um, but I haven't been as emotional as I thought. Like, early on, I had, I think just with the hormone changes and everything, I was very emotional, and, like, things were harder for me to deal with, and, I remember at the time my sister was living with me, and we had a couple arguments, because things were just like I was quicker to react to things. But I think I've been really lucky that I haven't had like any significant changes. I have a lot more energy though, and I think um like in terms of a personality change, like I think I am a little bit like happier and looking forward to doing stuff. I'm like I'm not as lazy as I was before because I have the energy to do stuff. And I think when I would lazily sit around and not want to do things, like it definitely affected the way I behaved and like my attitude towards people and things. And so I think it's a little bit lighter, and like I enjoy myself and being around people a little bit more. So, where am I? I'm lost. I'm already lost, you guys. I have no idea how to keep up with this. Okay. Um, hello there. Hi. Oh, thank you. Um yeah, I'm trying. I had VSG in March and noticed that if I overeat, I feel like I imagine a snake must feel when it has to digest something huge that it has swallowed whole. Yes. I thankfully I don't overeat too often, but I'll notice I have a tendency to eat too fast. I still have never really gotten down the tiny bites and eating slowly between, yeah, or like waiting a couple minutes between bites. I've never really gotten over that. And so it'll be one of those things that I'll realize too late that I've taken on too much too fast, and that's where I get that overstuffed feeling. And yeah, I noticed there's two main things. One, like you feel a lot of pressure. So yeah, it's like if you were a snake, I could totally see that. Like you swallow something too much and you're like, oh. But I notice a lot of times that if I get that way, I feel like I have to lay down. Like I feel like the way I equate it is like if you, well, I don't know if you're like me, but for Thanksgiving, I would always overstuff myself. Always. It's notorious, right? You overeat at Thanksgiving. And then everyone feels really tired and everyone blames it on the turkey, but it's not the turkey, it's the large meal that makes everyone tired. Um, I always feel like when I overeat, I've just like eaten Thanksgiving. And I feel like I get really tired and lethargic and have to lay down for a few minutes. And I'm just like, oh my God, that was a lot. That's the big thing I notice when I overeat, and I hate that feeling. I hate feeling like everything like screeches to a halt just because I ate too much food. Um, and sometimes I'll get nauseous and stuff, but for the most part, yeah, I just get this like overly bloated, overly stuffed feeling where I have to lay down. It sucks. It's a really good incentive to not overeat. I feel myself being more selfish and less compassionate. I'm trying to process that myself. initially I judged it as a bad change, but I try to think of it as me developing a skill set for me to prioritize and advocate for myself. Yeah, I think there is a huge change that happens when you start putting yourself first, especially if you're like me, where you don't put yourself first. Like everyone else always came first. And I never, that's one reason why I gained so much weight and was not in good shape. Like I never prioritized myself and my health or anything first. And so when you start to do that and you start to do things that are good for you, um, I think I've noticed a little bit of that too, where I'm willing to kind of like stand up for myself a little bit more too. Like I think it's a confidence thing. Once you start to prioritize yourself and you start losing weight and you feel more confident and like all this confidence rushes through and you're like, I'm not going to put up with that anymore. So I definitely think there's a little bit of that. I feel that a lot with my boyfriend. like he's going through a tough time at work right now and I'm like, I'm going to stand up for you. And I feel like this need to like take care of stuff. And I think that's just a like a confidence level and like feeling ready to tackle stuff finally. But I don't know. I don't know how much of that, like thankfully it's not like overwhelming. But yeah, I think that there's definitely like this um confidence that comes with it, and it does change your personality a little bit. Things are like you have a different perspective on things, and I think it's important, especially if you're one of those people that hasn't put yourself first most of your life, that I think it is kind of like a skill set, putting yourself first, doing things that are important for you, not necessarily bending to what everyone else wants or putting up with BS, especially if you're one of those people who has people in their life that don't really seem to support them. I hear about that a lot. I don't have a lot of friends, so so it works out for me. But yeah, if you're one of those people where you suddenly find your relationships changing and suddenly people don't seem as supportive as you thought that they would be, it's important to develop that and put yourself first and not put up with the BS because you are important. You are. It's hard to remember, but I've got to go. Congratulations on 500 subs. You deserve every one of them. Your videos are well researched and interesting. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I try to do a combination of putting out my experience just because I found that so helpful before I got surgery to look at what other people were experiencing, but also to put out the research stuff out there because there's a lot that I think not only can you get like overwhelmed with and not necessarily be able to like I don't get overwhelmed with all the information, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um but also there is a tendency for a lot of people that I see to not research. And I'm trying to be very careful with how I phrase that, because I don't think as a generalization as much as just the the small networks that I'm a part of. I'm just seeing a lot of people who seem to jump into stuff and then they're like, why am I so emotional? Or, why do I suddenly have a never ending period? Or like all these things. It's like if you just did an ounce of research, would have you would have learned some of these things. And so I'm hoping that just putting my stuff out there will help people kind of feel invigorated to do some of the research and be prepared for surgery. Any struggles with eating certain foods? Any new likes that you did not like before when it comes to food? Right after surgery, I really liked mushrooms, and I hate mushrooms. um, I I remember having something that had mushrooms in it and just being like, "Wow, that's really delicious." And then it's slowly gone back to normal where I don't I don't like I would prefer not to eat them. I don't think that they're like the worst thing ever, but I'd prefer not to eat them. So I don't find them delicious anymore. But that was very strange. I was like, why is this tasting so good? And then a lot of the things that I noticed right after surgery have actually mellowed out. I tasted salt really easily right after surgery. It made drinking broth really hard in my clear liquid stage, because it was just so salty to me. And then I was tasting it in like desserts and cookies because I got surgery right around Christmas. So right as I was able to start solid foods, it was Christmas time. So I had a couple of bites of cookies and stuff. And it wasn't that enjoyable because it tasted really salty to me. And I also noticed, like, my grandma made lemon bars, and I had a bite of one, and it was so bitter. Like, I could taste the lemon so strong. But those things have mellowed out. It doesn't seem to like, I don't seem to taste the salt in things very easily anymore, and lemon seems to not be like crazy flavor to me. Um, I notice mostly that things that sounded good before and tasted good before don't are not interesting to me anymore. And some of my guilty pleasure foods I don't really like anymore. So at one point I was out and about for work and decided that I was going to pick up something for lunch. And I'm always very careful when I do this, because I don't want to just pick up anything or whatever. But at this point, I decided that I was gonna try because I had heard that you can order a Big Mac without a bun. A lot of keto people do it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that and see how that sits." Because essentially that's just cheese, sauce, lettuce, and burger patties. So I ordered it, and I just didn't like it. Like, and a Big Mac was a guilty pleasure of mine. Big Mac was a guilty pleasure of mine before. McDonald's was a guilty pleasure. Like, I hated it, but I loved it. I have I can't even explain. So anytime I've gotten food like that, that used to be like, oh, I'm gonna treat myself and I'm gonna eat this, does not feel that way anymore. I don't like it. So that's the biggest thing. I haven't noticed anything that I used to like and I can't stand as much as like I just don't want to eat those things. They don't have the same effect. I think that it has to do with the endorphin rush. Like, because I've been working on my new coping mechanisms, eating was my coping mechanism. So since I've been working on that, I no longer get that rush of endorphins when it comes to eating anymore. And so the food that I ate before that would just like make me feel better doesn't. So now I'm actually tasting what it tastes like and it's not good. Eating for the feeling and not eating for the like for the taste of things. Um why did you choose gastric bypass over gastric sleeve? I did a lot of research, like a lot of research, and over time I was seeing that if you have certain comorbidities, gastric bypass was known to be just a little bit more helpful, a little bit more beneficial. So, for example, if you have diabetes, gastric bypass can sometimes reverse your diabetes. Um, and if you have GERD, like if you have acid reflux, it can help that. The flip side being that the gastric sleeve can actually sometimes make your acid reflux worse. Now, the thing with me is that I didn't actually have comorbidities, but I have risk factors like in my life because of my father. So he had really bad GERD and he had diabetes and all these things that I was just like trying to never get to that point. Like, thankfully, I wasn't pre diabetic, but I was just trying really hard not to ever get there. And I figured I wanted like the security in my back pocket of like making sure if I get gastric bypass that it can help me make sure I never get to that point. That was a big pushing, driving force for me. Gastric bypass, I read multiple times, is the gold standard of weight loss surgery. That's what a lot of people refer to it as, the gold standard. It has been done the longest, it's been researched the most. It is something that the surgeons know how to do very well. Not that there's anything wrong with the sleeve, but I felt very comfortable knowing that this is something that has been researched for a long time and would probably fit my life better. The other thing being that I did see a lot of research saying the higher your BMI is, the more likely that gastric bypass would be more successful for you. The sleeve kind of started out, from my understanding of my research, as the first part of a two-part surgery. So there's a surgery similar to gastric bypass called the duodenal switch, and known as the DS. And essentially, you start out with the sleeve, and then you move to a rerouting of the intestines that's similar to gastric bypass. It's a little bit different, but very similar, the same concept. And from my understanding, from my research, the sleeve, they noticed that doing the first half of that surgery um, had quite a bit of success. So then they just started offering that. Um, and people were finding success in that. So that's great. But I just really felt more comfortable with the fact that gastric bypass was known to be better for people with high BMIs. When I started, I had a BMI of 65, which is a really high. So that was a big driving force for me. Just seeing all the statistics, I didn't want to get a surgery and have it not be as successful as possible. And I was just seeing a lot of information saying that if you had a really high BMI and potential comorbidities, sleeve was probably not the route you wanted to take, unless you wanted to eventually get maybe the second part of that surgery to turn it into a duodenal switch. And I just wasn't interested in two surgeries, and it just didn't seem like the right fit for me. And I'll be totally honest, one of the one of the driving forces for me for getting the gastric bypass is that I wanted to keep my stomach. I'll be totally honest. If you watched my video on um, my gallbladder stuff, I am not super comfortable having organs removed. I can't explain it to you. I know that gallbladder surgery is common and easy and not a big deal to just get it removed, but I just am not comfortable with that unless I absolutely have to. And the same was with my stomach. I was like, if I don't have to remove it, I am a little bit more comfortable with the fact that everything was kind of pushing me towards bypass being the better option for me, but also, in addition, the stomach would stay there. Like, it just made me a little bit more comfortable. It's a silly reason, but I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely part of it. So, um, I don't know. I like the idea that I still have all of my stuff. Yes, it's all rerouted, and, like, it messes with my brain when I think about what things actually look like in there now. Like, it's really weird to think about, um, but I like the idea that they didn't remove 80% of it and then, chuck it in the trash or something. I don't know. They're my organs. I was born with them. I wanna keep them. Um, did you have any complications following my surgery? I have been very, very fortunate. I haven't had anything that I would consider a complication. I have had normal things happen, like feeling nauseous sometimes, or accidentally having dumping when I wasn't expecting to, and different things like that. I have had nothing that I would consider like an actual complication at all. My recovery was very easy. I was in super high spirits and like had no pain after surgery. And the worst thing that I think happened to me after surgery was that I couldn't sleep on my stomach, which I was a huge stomach sleeper. And now that I've lost weight, I can't sleep on my stomach anymore. It's very weird. I was not expecting that. My chiropractor, if I still went to him, would be very proud of me. I just can't get comfortable in my stomach anymore. But like right after surgery, I had such a hard time sleeping because I wanted to roll onto my stomach and I just couldn't do it. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate. I know not everybody's like that, and it's a huge like individual thing on what people experience after surgery. I've read a lot of things where some people feel really sick for like a long time, like everything that they eat. I've never thrown up since surgery. I mean, like that's how easy things have been for me. I've I don't know what throwing up is like with my new stomach. I've heard it's weird. I've heard it doesn't feel the same and it's like a weird thing. But I haven't even like gotten sick like that. The worst that I've had is feeling nauseous. So yeah, I've been very, very fortunate and I acknowledge that not everybody is as lucky with that and they feel, might feel sick sometimes or run into stuff. Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's like literally anything that I would consider like a complication after surgery. I had what I thought was a gallbladder issue, but after talking to the specialist and kind of thinking about things, I think it was just an acid reflux issue. It wasn't even reflux, it was an excess stomach acid. And that's because I stopped taking my omeprazole because I ran out of the omeprazole that I bought after surgery and figured I probably didn't need it anymore. And I found out that I did. So, I mean, that's probably the closest to a complication that I found, but it's not really. I buy omeprazole at Costco, really cheap, and I just make sure to take one every day so that I don't have like a burning sensation in my stomach with extra acid, and it's really not a big deal. So, did Mexico give you any post-op care options, returning to see the doctor, labs, care? No. The place that I went to specifically for Mexico Bariatric Center, they do not have any post-op care or anything. I I say this with love, because I don't think that it's a bad thing at all, but they are kind of like a weight loss surgery factory and they pump you in and out. I mean, they're very good at it. They're very good at the surgeries. They're very good at having a lot of people come in and flow out. I mean, they have a very well-oiled machine there, but that is all that they do and that's all that they offer. And that's one reason why it's so much cheaper to go there, because you are just paying for the surgery. And that is to say that they do have options to talk to people afterwards. So you've got liaisons, you've got like the nutritionist and coordinators and different people that you can talk to if you have questions about things or how to go about things post-op, but there's no like care for that or anything. So one of the things that you really have to do, and I always really recommend people do, is that they are willing to take their health and their care into their own hands after surgery, because it is up to you to follow up with your PCP. It's up to you to make sure that you are asking for your blood work, your labs to be done. It's up to you to make sure that you are getting the post-op care that you need. And so I have been seeing my PCP. I let her know 3 or 4 weeks after my surgery. She knew I was looking into it. And she had given me a referral for somebody locally, but I found out that my insurance wouldn't cover it and all this stuff. So I went and did it. And then I let her know, hey, I actually got this done. I did it about a month ago in Mexico. The recommendation is to see you every 3 months for blood work and to check in on things. Do you want to see me sooner? And she said, no, I think it's totally fine. I'll see you in 3 months unless you have a reason that you need to come in. Otherwise, it sounds like you're doing well. And I have seen her every 3 months. I'm going to go. I actually have to make an appointment in 2 weeks for my 9 month blood work and everything. But she has been making sure that the labs have my orders. I think they take 12 or 13 vials of blood like every time because they run so much stuff. But she's very thorough. She runs all of my vitamin levels and everything. We've been adjusting vitamins as we go just to make sure everything's good. And that's where that aftercare comes from. Checking with my PCP, doing the research, making sure that I know what to expect and how to take care of myself. So that's just something that you have to be willing to do, or I recommend either you know going through the process here with insurance or paying for it here if you really need that aftercare of people checking in with you and having your team here in the States. So my friend has surgery at the same clinic next week. What did the packet they gave you for your doctor say? Was it in English? So The paperwork that I got, some of it was in English, some of it was in Spanish. The things that I needed to know were in English. So my aftercare, like my prescriptions, when I should take them, what I should be taking. I think they're included, like how to take care of your incisions, different things like that was in English. It was really only a couple of pages though. The surgery report itself is in Spanish. The surgeons are Spanish, so they write up the reports in Spanish. And there's a couple of other things in Spanish, but they weren't things that I needed, like for my immediate aftercare. They are also very good with communication. You can email them or talk to them there. Carla at the hospital is a wealth of information. She will find the answer for you or talk to your surgeon for you and get the answer if she doesn't have it. They are very good at answering questions, at least from my experience. So if there was anything about aftercare, they do hook you up with somebody. I had someone text me right after surgery. I don't know what her title was exactly, but she's like a patient liaison or something. So they hooked me up with somebody who I could text with if I had questions and stuff. I felt very prepared for my surgery. I didn't have complications or anything going on, so I didn't really talk with her. But they do give you opportunities to talk with people, get your questions answered. And although the doctors are, like everything's in Mexico and in Spanish and everything, almost everybody speaks English. My surgeon came to talk to me. He speaks English. It is a California-based company. It's not difficult to communicate with people and get the information that you need, even though it's another country. So they've got a, like I said before, a really well-oiled machine. I heard from other patients that you tip everyone, including the nurses. How does that work and what amounts? So that is a good point. I kind of tipped. So so I have heard that it's one of those things that you can tip. So here in the States, we think that's a weird thing. Like you don't tip your nurses. Keeping in mind that it's another country, I don't know how much of it is just like it's just not weird to tip. It's certainly not expected to tip. So it's not like you're going over there and it's like, oh, you should be tipping. Why aren't you? I just think that it's not weird to do so. And it might also be something that we created. Like as Americans, we feel like we need to tip people all the time. And now we've created this thing where it's like, okay, if you want to tip me, that's great. I did not tip my nurses. I didn't really know ahead of time that I should be. I didn't really find that, or not should be, but that it was welcome. And so I didn't really like prepare for that. My mom is very prepared all the time. My mom's great. So she brought cash and she was like tipping drivers and I think she tipped one at the hotel and like she's tipping all sorts of people. She tipped Carla, I know for sure. Um and so that's something that you could do a few bucks here and there. But I did not tip my nurses, partially because I didn't know and partially because I was kind of loopy after surgery. And from what I remember for the couple of days after surgery, they were in and out, and I was, like, in and out of sleep, and I would not have remembered to do it even if I had prepared for it, because I just felt really, like, really tired after surgery. I was in good spirits, and I wasn't, like, miserable, but I was definitely tired. So, you will not get worse care if you don't tip your nurses. Um I didn't have anybody make me feel weird for not tipping the nurses in particular. But I've heard of people tipping a few bucks to their nurses every time there's like a nurse change or like bringing little thank you cards and like little tips or little gift cards or something. You can do whatever you want. It's not looked at as being weird, but it's also not looked at as being expected. So hi, I just found the live. I will have to watch back to hear more about your surgery. Well, you are welcome to do that. Yeah, this is kind of a weird time. I wasn't expecting to go live. I was explaining when I first started that I tried to do this on Tuesday, but YouTube is very strange and they made me wait 24 hours to be able to set up a live stream. So I have no idea. I got off work early and I was like, 3 o'clock, I'm coming home and I'm live streaming. And then I couldn't set it up. And I was just so sad because I was so prepared for it. So yeah, Saturday morning wasn't really my Shh, I'm gonna have to put you on silent. Why do you keep Saturday morning wasn't really my ideal. I just turned off my Wi-Fi, not the sound. I swear I'm like an old lady with my cell phone. Um, so yeah, thanks for giving me a little bit of time on your Saturday because yeah, not ideal. I'm hoping to do this again in a little while. But I was just giving giving it a shot because I've never done any live streams before. So it's kind of interesting to be able to actually communicate with people. I like that. The closest I get is occasionally DMing with people on Instagram. So I have just started my own journey. I have 160 plus pounds to lose, which is very overwhelming. Yeah, I was saying earlier in the stream, I if you go by the BMI in my like for my height, uh, I was looking at like a total of like 200 pounds that I had to lose from the start of everything. And so I tried not to think of that number because it's very overwhelming, and I didn't want to be in a position where I felt like, oh my gosh, I still have so much to lose. So small goals, focusing on non-scale victories, just trying to enjoy the process as much as possible, and look at the big picture. Look at how far things are going, because it's very daunting if you're looking at big numbers like that. I totally understand. I haven't wanted to look at big numbers myself. 10 days at a time, that's a good idea. Yeah, just take it 10 days at a time. I was taking things a week at a time, every week I would weigh in and, okay, this week this is my progress and this is how I felt this week. And yeah, taking things at small snippets at a time is really important because if you look at that big number too much, it can be really daunting. And then that takes the fun out of maybe some of those small milestones along the way too, because you're still just kind of worked up in this large number. It is so hot in here. It's supposed to be 90 degrees today, and I'm just like, oh, there's no airflow. Do you plan to have skin removal surgery? I don't know. I don't know. I have always thought that I wouldn't be interested because I don't want to go through the pain and the healing process for something that I always imagined wasn't going to be that big of a deal. But as I get more loose skin, I start feeling like, oh, I wonder if my thoughts are going to change on that. Um, I do want to Oh, I might have to go here in a few minutes because it looks like my boyfriend's gonna get off work early. But anyway, I do want to tone. I want to try to see if I am like working out and like weightlifting, strength training, what I can do before I seriously look into skin removal. I think I'm very far away from that still. I've heard that the recommendation is maintaining for like a year at your, whatever your weight loss goal is before you look into it. And so I am pretty far away from that. So I don't want to think about it too hard. And I do kind of have a feel. I don't know how to explain this. We all have different like thoughts and different goals and stuff. So if you want skin removal surgery, I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, I've seen some people, it's like, wow, they look amazing. Once you're kind of able to manipulate things and get, maybe that shape that you're looking for or something. I don't personally really care. Like, I just don't really care what I look like. The skin removal for me would be a comfort. If my loose skin becomes uncomfortable, that's when I would want to look at it. The only thing that really does seem to bother me a little bit, because it's harder to keep under control with like high waisted leggings and stuff, is the arms. They are getting pretty flabby now. They're definitely getting more and more loose skin as I go. I'm really noticing it on my thighs as well, quite a bit on my thighs, but I just put on some leggings. That's not a big deal. But I'm open to it, but I'm not really sure how much I want it. And it's really, I think for me, going to depend on how comfortable I am. If I get to the point where I've got issues, taking care of myself because it's, you got flaps of skin and stuff, like that's definitely something that I'm going to consider. Or if I'm, sometimes I hop out of bed and I like flap against myself. If I start taking off and flying, then maybe I'll consider, going for surgery. The scales were demotivating to me, so I weigh in once a month now and measure every 10 days. I like that. Yeah, I'm actually working on a video. I did it in May. I recorded the stuff for the video in May, but I am really, it's important to me to get this video right, so I haven't put it out yet. But I'm trying to work on it, and hopefully I can get it out either this or next week. But I weighed myself every day for a month, and weighing Kitty's readjusting. Weighing yourself constantly can be demotivating, and I think that it can be detrimental. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it keeps me accountable." If it works for you, if it truly works for you, then by all means. But I think the vast majority of us run into issues where it's too much, and you're so hyper focused on the number that it's not good. And that's what I noticed a lot of that, weighing every day, multiple times a day. I was exhausted and I was overwhelmed with numbers and I was obsessive about it. I didn't like it. Was it hard to travel post-surgery? Did you need anti-clot medicine? So they did have me on blood thinners, after surgery. I don't remember how long I had to take it. It was like 2 weeks or something like that. I got the instructions for it, and I just took it as I was prescribed after the hospital. But traveling, I actually found to be very easy. I fell asleep on the plane. We got first class tickets, which partially was because it wasn't that expensive at the time that we were traveling. Um, so I wouldn't like recommend to pay 2 or 3 times more just for first class, but it did make it a lot more comfortable. But I got a seatbelt extender. I will tell you now, I've never had a seatbelt extender before. I've either been able to just barely squeeze into an airplane, or I would do that thing where I kind of like put a blanket or something over my lap and pretended like it was clipped. I did that many times in my life. I just had this embarrassment that I didn't ever want to ask anybody for an extender. That was the first and last time I will ever get an extender, because after surgery, not only was I swollen, but I did not want to try to squeeze myself into an airplane seat. So I got an extender. I comfortably sat in the seat. I had brought a blanket and pillow with me, so I just kind of curled up. And because I had had such little sleep and like things were crazy right after surgery, I just fell asleep on the plane. And then the drive from the airport home was rather comfortable. I think I leaned my seat back just a little bit in the car for comfort, but I was not that uncomfortable after surgery. I was amazed at how well I felt after surgery, and I wasn't in a whole lot of pain. Has having a channel helped you? I started one for accountability. I think it has helped me because it allows me to occasionally look back on other videos that I've posted and other things that I've experienced, and kind of get perspective and be like, "Oh yeah, that's how you felt, 3 months ago, and look at you now." My mom always says, I think it's kind of like a diary for you, and in a way, I think it is just a good way for me to post things and be able to have a record of my journey. The big reason I started it though was because I didn't see a lot of people, not only with gastric bypass on YouTube, because a lot of people on YouTube seem to be doing the sleeve, but I didn't see anybody with my starting weight. I mean, I started at 374 pounds, right? Yeah, 374. I saw a lot of people, smaller than me by quite a bit, on YouTube, and I just felt like I wanted to lend a voice to people who were, heavier, and what they might expect or experience on the journey. So mostly I've just been trying to get information out there. I just look at it as a way to provide what's going on with me in my life. I think it has helped just for perspective, but I don't look at it as an accountability. because I don't feel like I have any expectations, I think is the way to put that. I don't have expectations on what to lose or how to behave or anything. And so I don't really look at it as accountability. And maybe that's a semantics thing, but um I'm having surgery in Mexico October 4th. You've been a huge inspiration to me. Thank you for sharing your journey. I'm so excited that I made it to your live today. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I am really excited. I love hearing about people's upcoming surgery dates and stuff. It's really fun to kind of create a community of people where we're just kind of sharing experiences and stuff. I personally like it a little bit better here on YouTube than what I find on Facebook. It's just a little bit nicer and a little bit of a better community. But yeah, I'm super excited that you're October 4th is not that far away. So how exciting. Congrats. Um, where am I? I did that the first time. I realized I needed an extender because I travel a lot and I started just asking as I got on so they would bring it to me or give it to me straight away rather than in a seat. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people would do that, like just right away asking the flight attendant or something and being covert about it. And I just was stubborn. I was very stubborn about the seat extender, but I'm very, very excited. I'm actually going to fly in September. I have to go. I think I had mentioned on my channel that my dad passed away last year. And so we've been trying to settle things long distance with COVID and everything, but we're going to go up and kind of settle some more things. He was up in Alaska. And so I'm going in September to do that. I'm kind of nervous with the way that COVID is spiking again, but I am excited to see what it's like to fly since surgery and since losing 130 pounds. So I'm very, very excited to see what that's like because I will never need an extender again. That's a pretty cool thought. You have given us a wealth of information. You're awesome. Thank you. I try to just sometimes I feel like I just like I word vomit all that stuff out. I started at 306 pounds, 30 pounds down. So good, congrats. That's amazing. Yeah. It's when you're over 300, I feel like there's less representation and it kind of changes the way you experience stuff from what I've noticed after surgery. So how much have you lost since surgery day? Let me pull up my app to give you an accurate number. Since surgery day, I was 344 pounds on the day of surgery or the day before surgery. And according to my app, I have lost 104.8 pounds since surgery itself. I lost 30 pounds on pre-op, so I'm at just about 135 pounds lost total. I love your channel. Oh, thank you. It's really like it's a weird thing to experience. Like people like, oh, I've gotten a couple DMs on Instagram of like, oh my gosh, I love your channel, and I have a couple questions, and it's like it's weird. It's like, oh, thank you. I guess thanks. So, look, I'll answer your question. I guess I'm like now a mini expert. I don't know. Um, Sorry for your loss, rest in paradise. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a weird one, but I think overall me and my family have been handling his loss as well as can be expected. So I agree with that. Over 300 pounds, you see less people like you, although I know they're out there. Yeah, I don't know if it's a comfort level of people like not wanting to share when they get like to a certain size. I have been an open book. I don't really care. Actually, let me before I forget. I'm going to text my boyfriend because if he wants me to come pick him up, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Oh gosh, yeah, way to screech things to a halt, Stephanie. Uh, Um, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's a comfort level, like, maybe people are, like, not wanting to share things because 'cause they're embarrassed. I was just like, "Yo, I'm almost 400 pounds. Let's hit it." Like, I don't really care, because at this point, it's data, It's like, once I made the decision to do the surgery, I'm already doing what I can to take care of it. So, the way I look at it is it doesn't matter there's no embarrassment there anyway or anymore because I'm taking care of it. So here's my process of taking care of it. And I've been very lucky. I haven't gotten any, like, weird comments from people or trolls or anything. I say that I'm knocking on wood now, because I don't want to experience that. But yeah, I've just been sharing kind of as I go. So um okay, I'm gonna do this last question or comment. I'm not sure if it is what it is, and then I'm gonna wrap it up so I can go pick up my boyfriend since he's a little early. My fiance had gastric sleeve and decided to stop taking vitamins because of misinformation on this hospital support group on Facebook. Gonna show him your recent video about that topic. Good. I just, oh, you're gonna get me fired up before I leave. The misinformation and the stuff that I see on that Facebook page is just, it's pretty prevalent. It's pretty crazy. Thankfully, with the sleeve, it is less of a huge thing if you're not up on your vitamins, because it's not a malabsorptive surgery. So, provided you are eating enough that you're getting vitamins and stuff from your food, you're probably not going to like die, or at least like have a horrible problem. But vitamins are important, with both of these surgeries. And I see so many people on that Facebook page saying, just do patches, just do the vitamin patches. And it is so, 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 so frustrating to see, because the research is showing that the, there's not enough research to really support the patches, and what little information there is showing that it's probably not absorbing very well with the patches. Some people are like, "Oh, I've had perfect levels and everything's totally fine," and that's great. Just make sure that you're monitoring them all the time. If you truly can't get vitamins down in other forms, there's liquid options, there's chewable options, there's swallowing the pills, which I've been very grateful that I can do. I recommend people try all those before they go to the patches. I think the patches would be a last resort, and that you should really make sure you're on top of your blood work with your doctor if you're on the patches. But yeah, very, very frustrating. Um, okay, so I'm going to wrap it up, I guess, and go pick up my boyfriend and see what is left of Saturday. This has been a very weird weekend, but I hope to do another live stream soon. This has been really fun, actually. I wasn't sure what to expect with it, and it's gone pretty well. And it's been really fun to be able to see you guys and talk with you guys. So thank you so much. If you've been watching the channel, if you're a subscriber, I just thank you a lot. It's been really cool to see my subscribers go up slowly, and to get to 500. I was just like, wow, like I didn't think that I'd ever have 500 people who'd be like, yeah, she's interesting enough, I'll subscribe to her. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and it's been really great being able to talk with you guys today. And I hope to set up another one in a little bit, and just connect with you guys a little bit more. So I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys have a good one. I don't know how to end it. Oh, there's an end stream button. Amazing. I'm going to try that and see how it works. Have a good one, you guys. Have a great Saturday. Bye.